So let's take a minute and talk about trading for income in addition to your primary source of income. This is a topic that I can say I'm an expert on because I've spent a majority of my 5-year trading business with a 9-to-5 with a full-time job. I did spend a year day trading full-time for my main source of income when I was living in the Philippines, which taught me the importance of having another stream of income. Now, without getting too deep into the weeds of that year, long story short, life ate away at most of the savings that I had at the time, and I came to the point to where I had to move back to the States. Now, at this time, I hadn't found consistency with trading. So when I returned stateside, I had to start looking for a job, right? Because the cost of living in the Philippines is much different than it is here in the States. And I was fine with what I had some other sources of income, but it wasn't that much, and I was fine with that in the Philippines. But long story short, I did find a job fairly quickly, and I had my family that was providing me some support until I got back on my feet. But that job allowed me to stick to trading, finding consistency, and it helped me to learn so much more about the market and myself through the journey of, through trial and error throughout my journey, right? So that's just a quick snapshot of my story and what got me to this point. But what I want to talk about here is some things that I learned about trading as a means to earning extra income. Honestly, while the overall goal is to return to full-time day trading with some other businesses on the side, primarily as an investor, what I know now is I could actually stay with my 9-to-5 if I wanted to, and still day trade on the side. If I wanted to go for the higher jobs with the huge salaries, I could actually take the skills that I've acquired through my day trading and apply the same thing with some minor tweaks to swing trading if I wanted to go down that route. I'm actually testing that out right now, but more on that on a later day. But I have seriously thought about doing this when I get job offers for higher paid roles, but my main purpose is leading me away from that path, right? Which is a great segue to the first thing I want to discuss here. All things start with why. It helps to be clear on your why, on why you're doing this, why you're even showing up to this environment in the first place. Your why will help you determine if you want to keep things or keep trading in addition to your job or whatever you're currently doing for income right now, right? Because you can have your own business doing something else and then also trading on the side. Like I have a friend who he owns a restaurant, and my brother was kind of telling him that he can also be, looking at what I do, he can also be trading, at the same time as he runs his restaurant business, because he has some time in the morning where things are kind of slow, and he has a space in addition to what he's doing with his restaurant where he can also trade on the side, right? And a lot of entrepreneurs do this a lot, where they will invest in the stock market and they will buy stocks, trade options, where they can increase whatever they're making with their business, right? So understanding your why will help you to determine if you want to stick with trading on the side or if you want to actually go to more of a full-time day trading type of thing, or you can full-time swing trades where you're spending a majority of your energy with swing trading, taking swing trades, or doing it with day trading, or just investing outright, maybe having some sort of dividend play, right? But here's the main thing. Maybe you're dreaming of your trading business saving you from the dread of your 9-to-5, but is it really that you don't like being an employee? Or is it that your employer is it your employer that you're trying to escape? Employment in and of itself is not bad. The self-employed entrepreneurship lifestyle has been blown up recently, But all successful businesses needs employment at some level to operate efficiently over an extended period of time. Most people are more fit to be an employee and can do things like freelance and invest in other things for extra income. So if your why isn't leading you towards doing something bigger than just making a lot of money from trading, maybe being an employee isn't the worst thing in the world for you. And that's perfectly okay. What trading can do for you is it can give you FU money, giving you the freedom to not feel stuck in a job that's not a good fit for you. You may need to sacrifice staying with your less desirable employer until you figure out how to trade. But once you learn how to trade with consistent profits, you can use that extra income from your trading to fund your transition into your dream job. You will be free to find the job that's right for you, right? And for me, that's what it's about. Being free to live your life completely on your terms, instead of making decisions based on survival. Truly living in the abundance that is available for all of us. And freedom isn't only restricted to making a bunch of money, right? I think we can all think of millionaires that we've seen where they are afraid to do and say as they please and fear that they will lose everything that they worked hard for, effectively making them a slave to their riches. So what's the point of making a bunch of money if the fear of losing it all locks you in a place that you feel you can't truly be yourself and are not free to live life on your own terms? Since these financial markets require so little to produce income versus the other ways of making money, learning how to trade gives you the freedom to design your life on what truly motivates you and brings you the most fulfillment. So with an understanding of why you're here, you'll be able to start putting together your plan for participating in these markets, starting with how much time you have to commit to trading. On the surface, this seems like a simple thing to figure out, but there could be several factors to consider depending on your obligations. For most people, our jobs take up a majority of our day, right? From preparing to start your work day, doing your personal hygiene. Maybe you need to pack some lunch, get your kids ready, maybe some other household chores that you need to get done before you head out the house to start your shift, or even if you're some household chores that you got to do before you start your work from home shift. And then if you're not working from home, then you have the travel time to and from work. I can remember when I lived in a bigger city, I had like a minimum 45-minute commute both ways, right? And that's in good traffic. Majority of the time, it took me like more than an hour each way to commute back and forth to work. Right? Of course, you don't have this problem if you are able to work from home, but all of this adds into your 8-hour shift that you got to work, and you got to be there early, at least on time. So we're talking about maybe 10 to 12 hours just dedicated to your regular job, 5 days a week. Your job could easily take up over half of your day. If you have family, we add another layer to this. You will have to consider how much time you will give to them. You can't forget about your family, right? And this is a tough one because typically you will need to sacrifice some time away from family, especially when you're starting out. And this is also why knowing your why is so important. Sacrificing time from family is not an easy choice by any means. But if you're clear on your why, the benefits from your why are, if your why benefits the overall wellness of your family in the long run, this allows you to sit down with your family and share your vision with them so that at least they know where you're coming from. They have an idea of where all this time is being sacrificed to and what it's all for. But remember this, they're not required to accept it. Your vision could be the best thing in the world in your head, but they may not see it the same way. They may be more concerned, for whatever reason, about having your time in the present moment versus the grand picture that you can see. Now, I just want to bring that up as a point of awareness so that you're not thrown off by the expectations of, having the full support of the people closest to you. You may end up needing to ignore their initial pushback and show them in the long run, once you, started to achieve the vision that's in your mind. This actually happens a lot. But in addition to that, even if they don't accept it initially, you can also work on a compromise. Something like blocking off 2 hours of your trading day where they agree to not to disturb you, and in return, you make a lot of time for them. Like on the weekends, like on Saturdays, you just give them as much time as you can on Saturdays when the market is closed and you don't have to give a lot of attention to your trading. You don't need to be so focused on your trading business. That's just one scenario off the top of my head, but every situation is going to be different, and you're gonna have to deal with the situation that you have had the best way that you can deal with it, keeping your why in mind and the bigger picture in mind, and not expecting everybody to agree with it just because you see this grand scheme, this grand vision that's going to help everybody in the long run. And so since you brought up, being free from disturbances, where you're going to conduct your trading business will need to be carefully considered as well. This is another one that may seem like a no-brainer on the surface. When most people think about trading, they think about, sitting at home behind a supercomputer with like 10 monitors with the cool LED light show, a gaming keyboard for some hotkey action, and some pumping motivation music in the background. All right, I'm exaggerating, but the point is, with the accessibility of the internet these days, trading can be done from anywhere on any device. But where you decide to conduct your trading business should be a space where you can be free from distractions as much as possible. Going back to how much time you have, you will need to understand how to fit trading into your lifestyle and not the other way around. You don't want trading to dictate your lifestyle. There's a lot of variation to trading, and there's so many ways to do it that you can and you should be fitting your trading business into your lifestyle. Do you need to trade while traveling? Do you think you will ever need to place a trade like while you're on a flight or on a train or something like that on public transportation? Will you be trading from your phone, a tablet, or a laptop, or a regular desktop PC? Are you comfortable with placing trades in public spaces? Going back to the device, how many monitors do you think you'll need? These are just a few ideas to get the ball rolling, but I can tell you that trading in a one bedroom apartment definitely comes with a lot of challenges, some challenges that I'm kind of facing today as I try to record this video. When you have family and noisy neighbors, this is something I've had to overcome and work out compromises with family on. If you're thinking to trade while you're on the job, other than the distractions from work obligations, a key thing to consider is access to the internet. So this takes me back to the first year I started trading, and I was trading while I was, working my shift using my work computer, primarily because I was overseas in an area where we had spotty mobile internet access. But in the middle of one of my trades, actually, when I placed the trade, we lost internet for a few minutes. And I was nowhere in the green. I hadn't placed my stop loss yet. At the time I was using a platform that wasn't the most efficient platform, based off of a lot of different situations that I'm not going to get into in detail to right here. It's a long story, but I had to respond by rushing outside and trying to find a decent signal on my phone so I could at least place my stop loss before a huge wave of volatility came in and wiped out my account. Now, that was my thought process in the moment. Being new to the game, in hindsight at this point, I was kind of unnecessarily panicking, not knowing any better. But that experience taught me a valuable lesson about trading with unreliable internet. So you want to take the time to think about the office location of your trading business. Location is key to all businesses, right? And you want to have a backup plan for when things don't go perfectly. So when you're trading with a job or other obligation, you're not necessarily going to have the freedom of your time to trade whenever you feel like it. You'll need to define the time of the day that you have free for trading, and I recommend picking the market you want to trade from this lens. You may be thinking to trade stocks because you hear they're just awesome and you see all the people on the internet making a ton of money from these penny stocks. But I can tell you as a content creator that analyzing stocks and putting out a watch list and all of the stuff that you see on the internet is some of the easiest ways of creating content in this niche that gets views and reactions, which is what I believe leads to new traders typically gravitating towards trading stocks in the beginning, and kind of you can throw forex in there as well. There's just much more content available on the internet to learn stocks, how to trade stocks and forex. But getting back to the point of time, if you're working the regular hours of a job Monday through Friday during the daytime, that's probably not going to be the most feasible option for you. Having that kind of a schedule, trying to trade stocks is probably not going to be the most feasible option for you as a day trader. I couldn't imagine trying to trade equities at work, and I have a pretty chill job, mostly just waiting for something to break, and I'm just sitting there waiting for something to break because I'm in IT. But this is why I like futures, because the futures market is open 23 hours a day, Sunday through Friday, and there are plenty of opportunities for a majority of those 23 hours. You can have a bit more flexibility with swing trading, but day trading requires a ton of focus for consistent results. The amount of focus you give it will vary depending on how long you plan to hold each position or to hold a trade. For example, a scalper will typically require much more laser focus on each position than someone who's holding a position for hours trying to trade the bigger picture. Your focus will also vary depending on how much automation you apply to your trading. A set it and forget it approach will require you to be much less glued to the charts versus a trader that's executing in the moment based on the micro details of price action and structure. Thankfully, there are several markets available for you to day trade regardless of your schedule. In addition to futures, you also have the forex market, right? That trades pretty much the same hours as futures, with a small exception that is open 24 hours a day. And then you also have crypto, which allows you to trade on Saturday as well. Options gives you a little bit more flexibility in terms of risk, with risk being baked into the contract if you're buying or selling, or if you're buying a call or a put. You will know the most that you can lose on that contract, no matter how far it goes against you when you purchase that call or a put. Now, that's just the options contract. If you don't close it before it's assigned, you're in a whole different ball game, right? Because now you're holding those shares that is associated with that options contract. And if you start trying to sell naked or get fancy with some other complex option strategy, that could change the risk side of things significantly in either direction. But keeping it simple, The risk associated with options can effectively reduce how focused you need to be on a single position. Now, everything that I've mentioned or just mentioned is tied to your trading style. So if you haven't already figured out the best way for you to go about trading, if you haven't figured this out, your style yet already, the best way to go about it is through trial and error. You can learn about different trading styles through things like, watching YouTube videos or reading books or maybe reading blog posts, looking on social media platforms like TikTok, Twitter, and Reddit. As a general guide, here's some things that you want to consider when determining your style. How patient are you? If you easily find yourself losing focus out of pure boredom, a scalping strategy may be a better fit for you. Or contrary to that, if you feel you need more time to make trading decisions, you could look at intraday swing trading or take advantage of trends when they come up. Also, something else you want to consider is, what are you interested in? If you're big on paying attention to economic news, Forex and futures may be a better fit for you as a from a fundamental standpoint. These two markets are great also for technical traders, right? Because they have consistent price action versus like equities. And if you're really into the new wave of digital currency, the crypto market may be something that you want to look into. Another thing about yourself to think about when you're trying to come up with your style is, do you like fast-paced markets or do you require more time to make trading decisions or smart trading decisions? For the latter, you may want to skip out on the first 30 minutes of the New York Stock Exchange Open. That's 09:30 to 10 Eastern Standard Time. For indices and equities, this is generally the most volatile. For indices and equities, this is generally the most volatile period of the day and typically not best suited for a more conservative, methodical style of trading. Knowing who you are as a person is extremely important for your trading and investing business. Remember, great trades come from within. I've talked a lot about how I see the markets as a mirror. I've already talked about that on another episode. So you're going to get the best results finding your space in the bigger picture. Now, earlier I briefly mentioned the low barrier. I vaguely mentioned the low barrier of entry to participate in this business versus a job. Entrepreneurship or other forms of investing. But for trading, the only thing you need is money, right? All you need is some capital to trade with. You don't need a resume. You don't need a degree. You don't need any licenses. You don't have to interview. You don't need to take any interviews. You don't need to manage other people, right? I can keep going on with this list, but as long as you have money and you can fill out some digital forms, you can be a trader. We can get into the semantics of why it's so easy for anyone to participate in this environment another time, but you will want to consider how much capital you have to trade with as well when you're thinking about trading for an additional income with whatever that you're doing right now outside of trading. This is actually a benefit you have if you're trading for extra income, especially with the low barriers of entry available these days. With the low to no commissions offered by many of the top brokers now, and you have the prop firms giving you the opportunity to trade with other people's money, it doesn't take nearly as much as it used to start trading. You can effectively put less on the table versus when I started trading or day trading just 5 years ago. This industry has grown so fast within the last decade, and the ease at which you can get into the market now can help you get to where you're trying to go faster, as long as you follow some solid risk management principles. But The capital side of this business is the main reason I believe all traders need to have multiple streams of income, which is why I wrote an ebook about it. All traders need multiple streams of income. When you enter into a period of drawdown, you're less likely to get triggered emotionally if you have money coming in from another source that supports your lifestyle. And a dope place to be, which I can tell you from personal experience, is when your regular job basically becomes your side hustle because you're making so much more money from trading. So with all that being said, I think trading is one of the best ways to boost your income regardless of what you're already doing to make money. And I've tried so many other ways, and I've made money in so many other ways from other than, trading. I made some money online and I've done some other things, but by far trading is my preferred method for producing income. And it's great if you consider yourself to be an introvert. It gives you a way to produce income without needing to deal with people that you don't generally want to deal with because, maybe they bring your energy down, right? You can connect and build communities with other traders that you vibe with at your discretion. But you can also go at this business completely solo. So with all that being said, I appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in to another episode of Trader Triggers. As always, if you found this valuable, go ahead and tap that like button and let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you're listening to this off YouTube on your regular podcast channel or platform, remember to leave a 5-star rating and a review for bonus points. And until next time, trade it easy. MV3 Traders Futures Trade Radio is brought to you by The Ultimate Trader's Guide, your one-stop shop for the most valuable income-producing information on the internet. Go to ultimatetradersguide.net to learn more. Link in the description below.